Yes, thank you. Council has before them Resolution 1827. A resolution of the Borough of Parkside, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, establishing a policy for the use of handheld signs during public meetings. Whereas pursuant to section of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act 65 PA, subsection 701, the Act governing public access and public participation in certain governmental meetings. Persons attending those meetings have certain rights to express public comment, including the display of handheld signs. Whereas also pursuant to the Act, governing bodies have the right to establish reasonable rules regarding the display of such handheld signs to promote public safety and an efficient and orderly meeting. Whereas the Borough Council has determined that it is advisable to establish a formal policy on the use of handheld signs at all public meetings. Now therefore be it resolved that the following rules to ensure public safety and proper conduct of meetings and the maintenance of order be hereby adopted by the Borough of Parkside pertaining to the use of handheld signs at all public meetings. Number 1, all persons attending the public meeting shall be limited to a sign of no more than one handheld sign measuring no more than 4 total square feet in size. All persons who wish to display a sign while in a public meeting shall maintain the sign within their hands at all times. No signage shall be permitted to be affixed to the wall, doorway, window, ceiling, floor of the municipal building. All persons attending a public meeting who intend to display a handheld sign shall situate themselves and their signs in a fixed stationary location designated by the President of Council or Borough designee. All fire exits and aisles must remain clear of obstacles, and signage may be situated any closer to the front of the meeting room than the first row of the audience chairs. No enhanced lighting or flashing shall be used in conjunction with any handheld sign. Number 5, all persons using any type of handheld sign pursuant to this policy shall ensure that this signage is utilized and located in a manner that will not block the aisleway, doorways, will not interfere with or obstruct the ability of other meeting attendees to observe or otherwise freely participate in all aspects of the meeting. What's your pleasure, council?
I'll make a motion to pass said resolution 1827.
I'll second.
Any questions on the motion?
Did our solicitor draw this up?
Yes.
And so how much did this cost?
I haven't gotten Mr. Will's bill yet, but I felt that since under the Sunshine Act, those signs are to be considered comment, we cannot restrict them. The public safety and the signs that were used at the budget meeting were way over 2 by 2 or 4 square foot, and we needed to, unfortunately, for the first time, address this issue.
You know we have an ordinance for signs on people's yards, right?
I would have to ask the code officer that.
Yeah, we do, but we don't enforce it.
I would have to ask the
And
code
then Mrs. Saunders
officer
would be
that.
under attack on that.
This is drawn up specifically for public safety while somebody is in the audience, if somebody has a sign that's 4 by 4 foot.
What safety issues could a sign create?
Well, if there's a fire in this building or we needed to exit this room in a hurry and we have one exit only, if somebody in the audience has a 4 foot by 4 foot sign, somebody could trip over that and fall.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
in answer to Mrs. Dye's question about what it cost the solicitor, please bill me. This way there's no money taken out of the residents. I will be more than happy to pay for this.
Thank you, Councilman.
Madam President, if I may comment.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Political signs, signs covering religious beliefs, signs based on municipal or government, such as the sign that you see support the Chester Water Authority, are exempt from any prohibition municipal ordinances.
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Higgins, we seem to have an issue on this resolution. Would you please do a roll call?
Okay, so that was for,
Res-
1827.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Bolt.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sidlow.
No.
Mr.
Excuse me,
Schreiber.
see, that's the second time you made a comment after I voted. That's not,
Excuse me?
that's not
Gavel,
appropriate.
gavel, gavel.
All right, let's go back to the vote. Mr.
Mr.
Sidlow
Schreiber?
voted no.
Yes.
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 Nick's yes. Shirley?
Yes.
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 Eric's yes. And Mrs. Guy?
No.
No.
I am unsure why two of our council members voted no, but that's your right to do so. It's basically, please let me finish. This is basically, as you know, you were here for the budget meeting, that persons brought in signs that were 4 foot by 4 foot. If we had had a large group of people here after the COVID is over with, when we can hold 25 or 35 people in the audience, we had an emergency in here, or somebody fell over with a massive heart attack, and you have 4 foot by 4 foot signs in the way, this is why this was created. The first time in the history of this borough, we have to create a resolution like this.
I do not think there's a safety issue from signs.
Thank you, that's your opinion.
And nobody's right is being taken away. They still have the right to,
You still have a right to bring in something 4 foot square, which is 2 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4. Unless council has any questions for me on my report, I'd like to move on, and I'd like to welcome our junior council person back.
Actually, Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I think Vice President Bull was trying to get your attention.
I'm sorry.
I didn't vote yes based on safety. This is for borough business, and people could string banners, could do a lot of things like that. Has it happened? No. Has it happened elsewhere? Yes. So it had nothing to do with safety on my vote.
And I think you're absolutely right. We could have people adhere things to the walls and damage the property
So it made sense.
with illuminating LED lights. Miss Powers, it's nice to see you back. Hi. I don't believe you have a report tonight, but we look forward to you coming again. At this point, we'll move on to Mr. Capabianco.
Thank you, Madam President. On the public safety, all the police vehicles have undergone their general maintenance for the month. For code violations, we got a sidewalk obstruction on East Avon, the unit block. There's a low-hanging tree there. Residents can't, they have to duck under it or go out in the street, and they've been advised that they have to have that cleared by Friday, end of Friday. Other than that, report general progress on the public works. Again, general progress.
Super. Any questions for Councilman Capabianco? Ordinance report, Councilman Schwager?
I have one resolution to bring to council tonight. It's Resolution 1828. This is a resolution authorizing the application to the 2020 PICO Green Region Open Space Program for the West Cole Memorial Park Project. Whereas the Borough of Parkside desires to undertake the West Cole Memorial Park Upgrade Project, and whereas the borough desires to apply to the PICO Green Region Open Space Program for a grant for the purpose of carrying out this project, and whereas the borough has received and understands the 2020 PICO Green Region Open Space Program guidelines. Therefore, be it resolved that the Township, Borough, City Board of Supervisors Council hereby approves this project and authorizes application of the PICO Green Region Open Space Program in the amount of $10,000, and be it further resolved that if the application is granted, the borough commits to the expenditure of matching funds in the amount of $27,400 necessary for the project's success.
Second.
Madam President, may I?
Yes, please.
So everyone doesn't think that there's going to be a $27,000 match. This project was actually awarded a grant from Delco Green Waste Project, or Green Waste Fund, in the amount of $9,350. So we're trying to leverage grant against grant so that we can get this project completed. So right now, should we get this $10,000, we're looking at a borough share of $18,050, just so everyone understands where we stand right now from a funding standpoint.
Any other questions or comments?
Did we discuss that during the budget meetings, $18,000?
That was put in from last year, and this year we have 20, I don't have my budget figures with me, but I believe we put capital purchase expenditures of 20 or 25,000.
Okay, so this would be our capital purchase for the year?
Yes, as long as nothing breaks.
Okay. And we're going to do that at the end of the year if nothing breaks, or are we going to do that?
I would
In the
hope
middle
to
of
do
the
that
year.
by the fall.
Madam President, there's always money that we keep for parks, recreation, and things like that can be capitalized for these types of projects. They're a direct benefit to the citizen.
You bet, you bet. Any of these grants are, and it's, majority of it's free money. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
just a quick return. I looked up the borough ordinances for signs. The signs are actually a code not a borough ordinance. It would be a zoning ordinance. And they discuss basically commercial signs. I don't believe, and the solicitor probably will agree with me on this, that the borough could regulate signs that go on individuals' front yards, since that individual's front yard is considered private property. Thank you. I'm sorry for you.
Okay. Councilman Schwager, you want to continue?
Other than ordinance 1828, I can just report general progress.
Super, thank you. License and inspections, Councilman Long.
Thank you, Madam President. For the permits issued for buildings, we had residential 13, commercial 0, plumbing residential 2, commercial 0, mechanical residential 0, commercial 0, electrical residential 0, commercial 0. Use and occupancy inspections were completed, there were 6. Re-inspections completed, there were 5. No 0 street opening permits were issued. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman Long? Emergency management, Mr. Powers, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, good evening, Madam President and residents. We had one fire investigation. It was a kitchen fire. It was contained to the stove. Investigation is now closed. Under the health inspector report, the borough will continue to follow all CDC guidelines. There will be no trunk or treat on school property sponsored by the borough or the fire company. So there's been stuff out there on social media asking about it. There was no large gatherings at all within the borough at this time. So there will be no trunk or treat. On a more important note, in the last 2 weeks, the fire company has been very active in the borough. Without going into too much detail, the fire company needs to remain in this borough, especially what's taken place in the last 2 weeks in this borough. Response times have been excellent, and it's important that it remains that way. That's all I have.
And I think we all totally agree. Do you have anything for fire marshal or health or?
That's all the reports in one.
Super. Then we will move on to the finance. Vice President Bull?
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. And actually, it's a healthy report. It's financially balanced. I should have said that before the vote. But with that, I would like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move on to the Woodlot project. I will have to report general progress on the fitness stations and defer that to the engineer. She's got that one taken care of. And the other part that I would like to say for the Woodlot is I believe we should start to research or look into some sort of invasive plant abatement program. I don't know if perhaps there's grant money out there, but I did notice during a walkthrough that there is a significant amount of poison ivy, significant amount of multifloral rose, and things that, you know, poison ivy is a health hazard for people that are allergic to it, obviously, and then there are other issues with invasive plants. And there has been a few complaints about the spotted lanternfly host, which is the ailanthus tree. And I have seen that there has been other municipal abatement programs. So I started looking, but I would like to start entertaining the idea of an abatement program for us. It will make the park more user-friendly. Anybody chasing after their ball won't have to worry about getting poison ivy. It'll bring more of the citizens into the park. And so that's just me putting it out there.
Are you going to follow up on that?
It is my intention to follow up on that.
Super,
So, and with that, I will report general progress.
super, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Vice President? Recreation, Councilman Schwager?
Just general progress at this time.
Councilman Capabianco, do you have anything for recycling?
Yes, I do. The monthly report, total trash is 220 ton, and recycling is 15 ton. And I'd like to say, welcome back, Sarah Powers.
Thank you. Did the tax collector leave us a report?
We did. Okay, the treasurer has received.
I know.
Spago.
I know.
The treasurer has received a total of $892,940.50 to date. There was $7,917.86 in revenue deposits from September 10th to October 11th. That's it.
Super. Moving into our engineer's report, Ms. Catania.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a copy. Oh, you don't have my report. I'm sorry. I only have my report. I apologize for that. I'm looking at my report saying you have a copy of it.
No, I don't.
Just as a follow-up for the Pico Green Region, initially, or when we put the Greenways grant into Delaware County, we were responsible for 75%. That was a 25% grant, with us being responsible for 75%, which was over $24,000. So just so everyone understands, that was part of the approval process back in the end of 2018 into 2019 for the Greenways grant. The woodlot, the project is completed, and believe it or not, I actually received a note from a resident. Found out that she had been up on the site for the first time, and she said it's wonderful. So,
That's great.
So you're very rarely that you get that kind of a compliment. So that was very nice, and I thank the resident for reaching out.
The lights are great. The lighting is great.
It is great.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. The only thing that I have, we have Community Development Block Grant next month, and I will tell you that, again, the borough does not have any eligible areas within the borough in which to do improvement projects. We do have a grant currently. I'm waiting for the notification from the county. Once they have the money from HUD, they'll send us a notification saying that they've completed the environmental review and we can move on. That's for the pedestrian lights on the Chester side. And we received that grant because they utilized some of the areas of Chester, because of your proximity to Chester, in order for you to be eligible for that piece of work. What you are eligible for is some kind of planning grants. And as we try to move forward in town, I think it might be beneficial for you to ask for some sort of a planning grant to upgrade the corridor of Edgemont Avenue. That would include trying to find area where you could find parking, because that's a major issue for any of the businesses that are there. Improve the walkability so that residents can walk through and have services in the town. So you're able to enjoy your town and stay in your town for whatever services that you need. So that's going to be my suggestion for the hearing, If anyone has any others that they would like to discuss during the hearing, please let me know, and I'll put something together, let you know whether it's eligible or not eligible. An email will work, and we can talk about it the night of the hearing. The only action items that I have this evening is the 2020 road program. The road program is complete. The punch list that we gave A.F. Damon is completed as well. I have a change order for the final quantities. This is a credit. This is into your liquid fuels fund, and it's a credit of $4,806.80.
That's great.
That the total
That's great.
contract is $53,915.20. Now, to ask for council to consider a motion to approve that change order.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the change order in the plus for $4,806.80.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
And then the last thing that I have is, since the punch list is complete, we did receive today, this afternoon, a final bill from A.F. Damon. I'd like to get this done tonight. It's a final payment of $5,391.52.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
We'll be putting together the completion report that we need to do for PennDOT. I will need the canceled checks, which is why I'd like to get it on the agenda for this evening. So we'll have to the end of the year to get that completion report to PennDOT. That's all I have. I can report general progress otherwise and answer any questions that anyone has.
We'll get that over to our treasurer so that we can get those checks for you, Lisa.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments for our engineer? Moving on to our solicitor's report, Mr. Wills.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First issue on my report is 2810 Edgemont Avenue. If council recalls, this was a property that was being utilized as an Airbnb in violation of multiple ordinances of the borough. The property owner, or I should say the tenant who was residing in the property, was the one who was actually operating the Airbnb. He was cited. We were in court earlier this month, myself and the code enforcement officer, and the defendant in this particular case entered into a negotiated plea of guilty. A fine was administered of $300 plus court costs, and a stipulation, of course, that the property would no longer be utilized as an Airbnb. So I appreciate the assistance of the code enforcement officer on that particular regard. There's also a pending civil action that the borough is not necessarily involved in, other litigation between actually the property owner and the tenant that was engaged in that type of activity. And secondly, I just want to address the issue that the chief brought up with regard to the proposed ordinance. I can tell you and I can tell the public that this is not something that is, or I should say, this is something that is being considered by multiple municipalities in Delaware County. Multiple municipalities have already adopted an ordinance basically decriminalizing the small use of personal possession of marijuana. There are a number of other ordinances, or a number of other municipalities, I should say, in Delaware County that are in the process of considering similar legislation. And the chief hit the nail on the head when he said it is in the borough's best financial interest to give serious consideration to adopting such an ordinance. And again, so the monetary fines are remitted back to the borough's general fund. as opposed to going up into the Delaware County Treasurer's General Fund. Other than that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
Any questions for the solicitor?
Yes, I have a question. In the email I sent you, Mr. Solicitor, you responded back that you did not charge the borough for writing a letter to the governor.
That is correct.
Okay. So what is your policy on when you provide free service as opposed to billed service?
Generally, if it's something minimal that maybe is taking just a few minutes of my time, generally I will not bill the municipality on something that's fairly minimal. Anything that's, again, requires some substantial time, that again will be reflected in the billing.
Okay,
So again, there's discretion, as most solicitors in Delaware County utilize. We don't bill necessarily for each and everything, but again, depending on the sum and substance of the work, the solicitor will use his or her discretion. And that's with all professionals. And the engineer, I think, operates, under that same policy.
Okay. So replying to my email, which was a less than 4-sentence email, was that a charged service or was that a billed service?
Okay. We have not, I have not prepared a bill for this month's services, so I